Hi, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I'm recording this on November the 13th, 2017. And I am a single, proud parent of a son with autism. His name is Marquis. He is now 24 years old. Marquis is a victim, but especially him, of abuse, neglect, and exploitation by the state of Ohio government and courts. And I say courts because of the Ohio Supreme Court refused to um, uh, discipline uh, a unfit, lying, corrupt, lying, racist attorney by the name of Aaron Sanford when I sent a grievance telling them how not only was she abusing and neglecting and exploiting my son for SSI money and federal funds and turning her head while other people were abusing, neglecting, and exploiting him, but how she lied on me. And on their website, the Ohio Supreme Court Disciplinary Council, those idiots talk about they don't have any. And that's what I call them. I don't care what kind of job you in. I judge, and I don't really judge, but I go by the kind of fruit you put out. And on their uh, website, they have a thing on there where they said that any attorney is not allowed to lie to a client or to a court of law, basically. And that's what she did. I got 3 audio tapes that'll show that she lied on me to the court because the things that she said, I have on audio tape statements made by other people that shows that she lied when she said that. But they said that's a no. Attorney's not supposed to do that. So when I reported that in my grievance, besides what she was doing as my son's frauding, they wouldn't even acknowledge it. And you wonder why, people wonder why there's so much corruption. I call it the illegal system. I really do. I'm at the age where I just don't, I just come at me with the truth. And I'm going to look at things truthful. I'm not going to, just because you're a judge, and I'm not saying all judges are bad, all attorneys. I don't know all of them. But the ones in me and Marquis's life, they've just been pure government filth. Racist government filth. Aaron Sanford, Mike DeWine, John Kasich, because they have all turned their heads and exploited my son for federal funds. They don't care about him being abused and neglect. For one thing, we're black. Another thing, they have no emotional attachment to him like they do with their own kids. But I think God has just basically put me in here to expose what's going on. Because ain't nobody can come to me and say, you're slandering us. You need to cease and desist. They can't say that. I got too much evidence. And when you got pics and documents and you got recordings and everything, and I'm a victim in this as a mother. I'm single, I'm Christian, I've been an RN for over 30 years now, a registered nurse. And so I doubt if I would be able to practice nursing if I ever abused and neglected my son. And for them to separate our family like this is unconstitutional. Only time that should be even considered should be when there's abuse and neglect going on between those family members. And speaking out for your son and exposing government racist trash filth from the governor on down. It's not abusing, neglecting your son. But the Lord let me know I got this. Just pray for them because they're going to need it. Because he said he will avenge. That vengeance is his. He will repay. And I've seen him do that with David Belinsky. He let me know. He made sure that I got the newspaper that day. Made me turn around in the store and get the newspaper so that I could see that he had dealt with Belinsky. He put that man light out. He died unexpectedly. Because when he was talking to me on the phone and bragging, because God hates pride, just like he hates corruption and sin, I knew he was going to punish Belinsky within a year, because he's the one that lied and filed to get my guardianship away. I haven't neglected or abused my son, but I'm going to tell people as me and Marquis move on to the lives that God wants us to live. You don't have to do anything wrong for wicked, sick, evil, racist people that are very corrupt, that are in the system to do you wrong. You think Jesus deserved what he needed, what he did? He needed to do that for our salvation. But if you look at it from a legal standpoint, the trial was even illegal. They wasn't supposed to hold a trial in the middle of the night. They couldn't get two or more witnesses. They had witnesses that came to spoke out against Jesus, and they did. But this Bible tells us that none of their stories agreed. So it was a complete travesty of justice. But he went to the cross for us. But even the Bible said he was without sin, yet he was numbered with the transgressors. So you don't have to do anything wrong for somebody to mistreat you and do you wrong. My son ain't done nothing to them people. He's not a criminal. He's not a thug. But they treat him worse than a criminal. I say, even these inmates get to have phone calls from their families and visits from their families. He has not been allowed to see me in over 2 years. The last time I actually had a visit with my son was March the 15th, 2015. The last time I actually was able to view him was July the 8th, 2015, through my own efforts. And within 3.5 months, he had gained, he looked entirely different. And you can see that cover photo on Facebook. I have 3 Facebook pages full of evidence. That's why I say I don't worry about anybody trying to write me and say anything. And when I name names, I can prove it. This particular recording, because I have a page that's called The Abuse and Neglect of Autistic Marquis Tanksley by the Government, Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley, and then the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley is suffering abuse and neglect. And I vowed with this last page that I was going to go ahead and let people hear Marquis's suffering in his own words. How he tells me how much he misses, which is suffering, me, his home. He tells me and describes abuse, people hitting him, assaulting him. You could tell he's traumatized. You hear him crying out. And in this particular tape, they had restrained my son, and his toes were hurting, and he's going ouch and ooch, and it's sore. And then and this is from March the 4th, 2012, and I got tapes going all the way up to the last time I talked to him. So I got many more evidence to go. And I said, I'm not going to I don't care. I said, because these people, and why I throw that racism in there and stuff, because they always told me I escalate my son, which was a malicious lie, but this is government racist filth. I said, because I know they don't tell the white mothers and fathers that. And the autism community is racist. I know, lived it, went to their pages on Facebook, wouldn't even acknowledge it. Seen that black picture, wouldn't even acknowledge it. And see, that's where I am. I just, at this age, all about the truth. That's why I won't stand up. And I don't really have nothing against the national anthem, but the Pledge of Allegiance, I won't stand up for that. I said, because it's not true. It's not real in my son's life. And it really ain't real in my life. I said, anytime you can't even see your own child, and your son can't see their own mother, and there's no abuse and neglect. Now, does that sound like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to you and justice? It's a joke. And that's what I feel about it. So I'll sit my butt right down, because I used to stand up, but I wouldn't recite it. I didn't put my hand on my heart. I'm not going to stand up for it. I said, because it's not real. And I don't give a darn who don't like it or whatever. Because there's a whole lot of sick, racist people in this country, especially white people. They practice racism, don't even understand it. And not all white people are racist. That's why you got some of them out there marching with Black Lives Matter and civil rights and stuff. Because they're not in denial. They can acknowledge that there's racism in this country, that this is a very sick, racially ill country. That's why you got different outcomes. But anytime you told, I said, I know they ain't telling these white parents they're escalating their sons and daughters with autism. Because I used to think, I said, well, now, so when these white individuals are having meltdowns or aggression, or, their behaviors are very aggressive. So who do they blame that on? Because I used to go to autism threads and message boards and stuff, and because my son never did, he never really hit me, and he never really did self, injury behavior. He never was a headbanger, or hit his forehead with his fist. He did property destruction. He would hit walls or tables or something like that. But he never was uh, where he would hit himself or me. But you go to those autism message boards and you would just read, especially during their teen years, autistic teens could be very, very aggressive because of the puberties and hormones. And my son was very aggressive during his teen years too, because, like I said, puberty and all that kind of stuff. But you would read how, these individuals with autism, the parents would talk about how, they had to wear helmets and they were having meltdowns and attacking their siblings and attacking them. And the parents were describing injuries that they had, scratches and black eyes and all that kind of stuff. But they never wrote, but they say that I'm escalating my son and daughter. See, that was just for the black mother, because racism is when you oppose your race on another race, and the victim race is treated negatively. But they never wrote that anybody told them that, because they're white. But I was told that. And even when I would come in there to visit my son, he would be so. And like I said, I'm a victim in this. I said, because ain't nobody that love their child will want to see their child the way I've seen Marquis, or hear the things that he have told me. And even now, when I have to go through them to put them out here, it tears my heart up. It's just painful to hear and to go through that again. Because I've been there for my son. And that's the reason why they said, well, we're going to separate, and to protect them. Because this woman, she gets evidence against us and all this kind of stuff. But the Lord said, don't worry about it. He said, pray for him. He said, because I got this thing handled. And I'm going to have your son living the way I want him to live. Just like your life. And he said, you seen what I did with Belinky? Yeah, I did it. I did that. Vengeance is mine, and I will repay. He said, but you stay faithful. Because if I want Marquis to come back home, he come back home. He going to live the life that I want him to live. Because Jesus knows all about suffering and injustice. Look what he went through. His trial was a travesty of justice. It was unjust. He suffered. He knows the separation from his mother. When he realized that he wasn't going to be able to be with his mother again. And he comfort her from the cross. Woman, behold your son. And told John's son, behold your mother. So Jesus knows all of those feelings. And he said, I know you love your son. You got a mother's love. He said, but you're right. It's going to take me to bring this down. And he said, I already got a handle. I ain't got to sit up here and try to figure it out how to deal with these people. When the date comes, he's coming out of there. But he did tell me it was a time of exposure. And he has allowed me to be able to. I don't have to put another thing on neither one of these pages. And like I said, I got 3 of them. I don't have to put no more evidence on there to prove what I'm saying. But this tape is awful because he talks about his feet hurting, and then he's crying. When I went in there, he was crying, and I said, what's wrong? That's my baby. So, I greeted him like a mother would, and he just bawling out and sobbing. And then he starts yelling because he's so upset that he said, they restrained me, and then they hit me in my head. And, and he's upset, and he's traumatized, and he's terrorized, and, and it takes a while to call him down. I had to calm him down, but I don't play the whole tape. I just want people to hear from Marquis's own words and own mouth how these people treated him and traumatized him, how this system has just done nothing good for my son. And I hate to say it, I wish every one of them would go straight to the pits of hell. From Mike Snow, John Kasich, uh, uh, Mike DeWine, Heidi Hughes, Aaron Seffer, all the scum. And there's been, black people that abused my son. The thug that I seen with my own eyes. That's why I said ain't nobody can say nothing to me. Cause I seen my son even being abused and hit and assaulted. He was black. That thug was black. His name was Rochelle. And I seen that because the Lord set him up and allowed me to see it. No, I wasn't standing close to my son, but I was standing far away off to the side where he couldn't see me, but I seen him. God will do things like that. Because I'm a Christian. And I will tell people, if that person is a Christian and they're letting God run that ship, be careful, because God is in every situation. He's in everything. He never leaves us. And you might find yourself boxing against Jesus in the ring. And that's one fight you're not going to win. You're going to not only get battered, you're going to have a TKO. So when you're messing with a Christian, and God was with me and told me, after that boy, punched my son, he grabbed him by the shirt. Then he threw him in the van, and I was just beside myself. I said, oh, and that's on audio tape. You can definitely go and hear it because I have it on my Facebook pages, but I also got a YouTube channel because this stuff been happening for a few years. And you could actually hear the actual audio tape because I was surprised. I didn't know that boy, because I seen him walking up. It was a little dark, but he had his headlights on. Well, the headlights showed Marquis being sitting on the ground with his arms held up by two state workers, but it didn't show me because I was a little bit off. Anyway, God had it just perfect where I could see him and he couldn't see me. He wasn't supposed to see me because if he would see me, he wouldn't have done it. But since he was thinking everything was just between him and the staff, no family members around, just the other corrupt, abusive staff, he thought it was okay that he could come over there. That's why the girl called him over there. She called him over there. We need help with Marquis. Because before they had just put him in a prone restraint, which is illegal in the state of Ohio. The things that I have seen as a mother. That's why I said I'm going to put it out there. Ain't no scum going to come to me. Because that's what I call them. They're scum. I ain't calling them names. I'm describing them. I said, because anybody that make paychecks and make careers out of exploiting helpless people, disabled people, you're filth. You're just the lowest of the low. I don't care if you're a judge. I don't care if you're a governor, attorney, the president, a lawyer. You're just filth. And racism always has something to do with it. It's in every part of American fiber. But God had it set up where this boy couldn't see me or this thug. But it shocked me because I didn't expect for him to hit my son in the chest. But the Lord wanted me to see it, and it's on audio tape. And that boy might be dead or gone. He might be on the street someplace and stuff because God has a way of spiking booties when you do people wrong. Now, how many other disabled people have he been doing that? But Ohio has a track record of having investigations. I think the Cincinnati Enquirer or their main Cincinnati, Ohio newspaper did a report or investigation rather when Taft was governor and said these idiots even admitted to, having staff that abuse or the residents being abused, especially in these state facilities, and said they were even not only admitting it, but how they would have to pay so-called employees, state employees, to walk away, to give up their jobs and stuff. So this has been going on for a long time. And everybody turns their head. I said, and you wonder why this country's going down. Because it's going down. That's why you got a Trump in there. You got a North Korea that's a thorn in the flesh and everything else. Because it's been so hypocritical with, we're in God we trust, we're a Christian nation and stuff. And it's always being a very, very racially sick country. And God, whether you want to admit it or not, God will use somebody to expose you, or he puts things out front and center. Just because you don't want to acknowledge things doesn't mean that God won't. I think this racism thing that's going on in this country, God's been keeping it out front and center. So God will put it out there when human beings don't. And like I said, it's always been uh, something that has gone on in America since 1776. But like I said, I don't. I know racism is a white phenomenon in this country because I understand what racism is versus racist. But I don't see black people being racist in this country. I see them just like me. I'm just responding to the way my son has been treated, and me as his mother and our family has been treated. It has nothing to do with racism. It's ugly. It's sick. Um, it has something to do with racism in on their part, but not my part. I'm not a racist. It's not racist to tell somebody to get off your foot. You're mistreating my son. I said, because I'm just not that type of mother where I feel like I got to hold my head down and keep my mouth shut and turn my head while they abuse and neglect my son. You wouldn't want to see the stuff that I have seen or the stuff that my son has told me of his suffering. I said, he's suffering. He can't, see his own mother. But even when I used to go in there and visit him, I go in there and he had already been traumatized, terrorized, beaten, assaulted, you know. And I would have to go in there as a mother. I bet them white people wouldn't want to go in there with their autistic sons and daughters and see the stuff that I've seen and heard. But since I spoke up about it and being black, I had to escalate my son. I said, now this is the filth, sick, white, trash filth that happens to be social workers and judges and the governor and all that kind of stuff that me and Marquis got in our lives right now. But I vowed that I was going to tell his story. But this tape has him crying and saying that he was restrained, hit in the head. Then I also had a conversation uh, with one lady, and I told her, I said, get the police over here. He's got a scratch on his face. And then there's a white lady named Lois that she was laughing because Marquis was hungry, and she was laughing when he told her that because she said, and he said, no, I'm hungry now. It sounded so cute. No, I'm hungry now. And I started saying, well, idiot, did you feed him? And then there was a guy named Robert, because Marquis been abused. He even names two guys that hit him in the head, two black guys named Usman and Dwight. But then I seen Rashem hit him in the chest, and then I also was told by Danny, white mentally retarded guy, that he seen a guy named Bobby throw Marquis down, punch him in his head, which I believe is Robert, because Marquis had told me he had his head covered up. One time I went in there, but I've seen him do that before, but he had his head covered up like he was afraid to even have the environment, trying to close out the environment. And he told me Robert was out there on the unit and had been treating him mean. So when I was talking to this Lois, I said, Marquis is very upset. He said Usman and Dwight hit him in the head. And so when I said, and like I told Robert, I didn't want, and she said, well, it was good that you got Robert off this unit. I said, who? And you'll hear it. She said, Robert. And what she was telling me about was that she knew when she said that Robert was an abuser. I mean, it's a code of silence over there. You're not really supposed to say anything about it, especially report it to the so-called, even the highway patrol. When I see Marquis punched in the chest by Rashem, they refused to take a report because CDC told them not to. That's the state agency. All of that stuff is on tape. As I done seen the corruption, I lived it. And I said, hey, nobody going to say nothing. I said, but every one of them all be ashamed of themselves. I know I'm a sinner. Jesus had to die for my sins and stuff. I said, but, this was a few years ago. This is back in 2012. I said, you wonder how God might have dealt with some people. And I said, excuse me, Lord, but you let me know. about Belinky, because he's the one that made me go and get the newspaper that day. Matter of fact, I went past the newspaper table, and the Lord spun me around, made me go get it. He wanted me to know that he dealt with Belinky. And he said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. So God will avenge. And then that trash Erin Sanford, she's now with Nye Law Group. And I went ahead and put a scathing report on there. And they contacted Facebook, and Facebook removed it. But, I just told her. I said, you getting his SSI check, and he got to live in poverty, abuse, and neglect. And I could read it to you real quick. It says, this wicked, disgusting, unfit attorney is a pathological liar and the lowest of the low. And I had put anyone who will hire Erin Sanford has got to be as corrupt and unfit as she is. Anybody who abused and neglected a disabled person for money is the lowest of the low. She has lied on me multiple times, and I have the evidence to prove it. So I'm not slandering her like she has done me. The evidence is on audio tapes. Each lie was rebutted with the real truth. I have Sanford on tape telling me in jail flag that she can't handle mental health caseloads. Someone please tell this lawyer that is unconstitutional to deny family relationships and try to sever family bonds when there has been no abuse or neglect in that family. More importantly, God created and designed a family and will surely deal with Sanford and others like her that abuses their little power here on earth to separate and break up families. This corrupt, sick lawyer has not allowed my autistic son to see me in over 2 years, while she and others have directly and indirectly abused, neglected, and exploited my son for federal money. Isn't that right, Sanford? You get his federal SSI check while he lives in poverty, abuse, neglect, and in a rundown, tiny little townhome owned by the state of Ohio in a terrible, crime-ridden neighborhood. You have not allowed him to call me in several months because you and the rest of the government scum you work for and with is so afraid what he would tell me. All the hell you and the rest of the government scum has had him living in for a few years now. No, it's not really my imagination because I have evidence. Right, Sanford? You had kept him on Thorazine, allowing it to be increased to the maximum dosage, and considered for him to be started on lithium, and he has gained a lot of an unhealthy weight. He developed a skin condition under your watch that he didn't have at home with me. He has no quality of life and misses me, his loving, supportive mother, also an RN of 30 years, all the time. You have turned your head while the staff and others have repeatedly abused, assaulted, beaten my son, and neglected him in many ways, physically, mentally, and emotionally. He has told me how the food is low and he only gets to get to eat 1 meal a day, all on audio tape, Sanford. You and the other low lives in the system don't want me to see my son nor talk to him because you know I get evidence and have gotten plenty of evidence already, such as audio tapes, pics, documents, and a videotape that has already exposed all of you. You have made my son suffer tremendously and it hasn't gone unnoticed by God. You have tried to break our family up and you have tried to do it to others as well. I have seen at least 3 very negative reports by others on how you deal with families and people. Go to Mashburn Law Office page and see what others have written about Sanford. All you corrupt pieces of scum that practices injustice are in it for the money and surely will be punished by God in his own way and in his own time. God hates injustice and promises he will revenge and repay. I've already seen it happen to one corrupt attorney who thought he was unstoppable and all-powerful. By the way, evidence of Sanford's corruption and misconduct can be found on 2 of my Facebook pages, and I have 3 of them, and also on my YouTube channel. I'm looking forward to God bringing my son back home and spiking this so-called lawyer's backside. Amos 5:7-10, quote, you are doomed, you who trust justice, you who twist justice and cheat people out of their rights. You people hate anyone who challenges injustice and speaks the whole truth in court, unquote. And this is not the only scripture that speaks about injustice. It's all throughout the Bible. God acknowledges it and is very angry with injustice, and it's lawyers like Sanford that he's talking about and the rest of the scum in the illegal system. I can see why, because it's pretty pathetic out of all the professions that you have unfit, corrupt, lying lawyers like Sanford. Remember, Sanford, God is just. My son's life is not in your hands, and when it's time for Marquis to be delivered by God from the hell you and the system have kept him in, he will be coming home, and God will deal with you and the rest as he sees fit. So I went ahead and put that on the new law firm's page under review, and within 6 hours they had it taken down. But they can't come and say, oh, you're slandering her, you're calling her names. No, I'm describing her. She is a liar, she's unfit, she's corrupt, she's I believe racist, but all of them deal with uh, in the context of a racially sick society, white privileges. If they're not directly practicing it, they're benefiting from the different things that a white privileged society or system, uh, which basically is just, you know, looking down on minorities and treating them negatively. And it's just everywhere. I mean, it's in every fiber of American culture. And you'll see where black people are overlooked. Um, Even though it has to be very, 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 very special for a black person to, like with media, like when you got and people used to talk about how come they always put the blonde hair, blue eye, white females or white males if they're missing versus a black female and stuff. So, you know, black people are overlooked. You know, we're overlooked. They try to overlook us, you know, as far as our talent, our beauty, our uh, culture, you know, and that's the reason why you got so many bad negative perceptions of African Americans for others across the world and stuff, because the media, they rarely put all the positive things um, about black people. You got some very nice, wonderful, successful black people. They're in church, you know, they're professional, they've got wonderful lives. Um, you know, black men that are actually taking care of their family. How about putting some focus on them? You got beautiful black women, professional. You know, how about putting some focus on them? You know, so even when black people are in a positive light, they'll go ahead and try to overshadow that with their stuff, the way they want it, what they want to focus on themselves and stuff. So you'll see it in every category of American life, and that's why I say it's a white phenomenon. But anyway, this is a very horrific. Like I said, when I listen to these things, it just I relive the pain again. Because remember, as a mother, because I always been baffled. I said, well, why do they think what? Because I'm a black mother that I don't care for my son as much as they care for their kids. I said, I'm surely not going to walk away. They think I'm going to forget about him just because they haven't allowed me to see him in 2 years. But I'm a Christian. I know God actually ultimately has the power and the control over my life and Marquis's life, not Aaron Sanford. And that's why I wrote what I wrote. I said, God gonna punish you. And sometimes that punishment could be just putting your light out, because God deals with people in different ways. Sometimes he just move them aside. Sometimes he put your light out. But he was so angry with Belinky. I said, well, that's what I was feeling when I was talking to him. Because there was just like a heated feeling, not for me, not towards me, over that conversation. And I said, well, I could tell God was angry with him. But you don't want God angry with you. But this man thought he was a phenomenon and he was all powerful, and it was offending God. That's why I just wondered, like, do they know they're offending God? Because Jesus said he's going to tell people face to face, what you have done to the least of my burden, you did it to me. Now that's what Jesus, you know, feels about it. And when he says least, he's talking about people that are not in that same position. They could be poor, or they're not at the same level. And you're going to mistreat them like that? You're going to have to answer to God. But I'd say that, and they don't want me to talk to Marquis to give him hope. Which, you know, like I said, these people are just evil. They're wicked, evil, corrupt, racist. They're just filth. But I would pray with my son all the time. And Sarah said she didn't want me telling him he was coming back home. I said, not only do I tell him that, we pray about it. I said, because I know that God has all power and authority. And Jesus is God to me. He's God the Son, God in the flesh. But they didn't want me to tell him that. I said, but that's the devil in her. But I said, I know you showed me about Belinky. I wanted to, when you bring Marquis home, all honor, praise, and glory. I give him praise, honor, and glory now. Because I know he's protecting my son. He's been with my son. Because Marquis wouldn't have been able to make it. He'd be dead by now. And I wouldn't be able to make it as a mother. I said, it's only because we anchor and Jesus is the captain of the ship. And I thank you for bringing him back home. I said, because I know that it takes God to be the only person that can stamp out an army full of sick, racist, wicked people. But I'm going to go ahead and get ready and play this. But like I said, I said, I know they must really think I said, because when you got people that hate you so much, not only will they slander you, but they're going to try to turn you into what they want you to be. And I said, I'm not an unfit. I love my son, and I'm going to show him how much I love him. I love my child as much as they love their child. And I said, these people got to be surely sick in the head if they think I'm just going to wrap up my life and say, well, oh, I used to have a son, and now that the government has got him and kidnapped him for federal funds, I might as well just forget about him. I said, I don't think so. I think that's why, in a way, not to toot my own horn, because I am what I am because of God. Everything he's given me, the talent that he has given me in every kind of way is because of God. But, I'm not going to just say, well, y'all got my son and walk away from my son. I think about him every single day. These pages, I like to sing. When I do sing, I sing karaoke, but I've been singing and like to sing ever since I was a little girl. There's songs that I could be singing. I think about my son, the lyrics and stuff. That's my child. I love him just like they love their kids. And I said, now that's how sick these people are, because a racist person, or when somebody hates you, they're going to try to turn you into what they want you to be. I said, but if I would have been abused and neglecting my son, I doubt if I've been able to practice nursing as a registered nurse for the last 30 and a half years. But I'm looking forward to God bringing Marquis back home and spiking these booties, these backsides. And God will show you things in dreams and in visions. So anyway, this is a terrible tape. Listen to my son wail and cry, and because he always made sure that he tell me he wanted me to feel his pain, but he was so traumatized, and I would have to walk in there and see this stuff over and over again, and hear my son describing abuse and neglect, and how he longed to be at home, and because he don't have no quality of life. Right now he don't. He doesn't get to see his family, his mother. He doesn't get to watch the TV that he likes to watch. He doesn't get to listen to music. He's got hobbies. I mean, it's just, And I said, I'm going to put it out here. I said, but these people, and I know I'm a Christian, I said, but they're just racist filth to me. They're just racist filth. And if I seen them out on the street, I couldn't even look at them. It'd just be like looking at garbage. Because to me, they are garbage. I said, these people, I can respect a criminal out the street more than I can respect these criminals in the courts, Supreme Court justice and all this kind of stuff, and Attorney Aaron Sanford and Governor John Kasich and Attorney General Mike DeWine. I can respect a criminal gets my respect more than this scum in the government, because these people make a paycheck. They're making a paycheck all year long, doing corrupt corruption and unconstitutional acts. I mean, they make a career out of this stuff. 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, throughout the year. So I don't have no respect for them. I said, but ain't nobody gonna come up against me because I've challenged them. I said, I'll challenge them now. I said, ain't none of your attorneys, none of that filth can say I'm slandering them. And that's why I said I think that law firm and then I got to get ready and play this, but that law firm that Mike DeWines called themselves sicking on me to try to get $2,000 when Marquis was being abused and neglected and exploited for federal funds over at this facility, because this tape is from, like I said, March the 4th, 2012, when Marquis was at Columbus Developmental Center, which is a state of Ohio um, ICL MR facility, intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded. And after, because they would send me threatening letters, well, we're here to collect them. $2,000, and it's with interest. But God will trip up your enemies. I've seen him do it over and over again. Because they had put the Ohio Department of Mental Health on there, which is not what CDC is under. That's not the agency that Columbus Developmental Center is under. It's under Ohio Department of Developmental Disability. So that was wrong. So I called them twice, and then the last time I finally got to talk to, I guess, the office manager, and I told her, I said, for one thing, they put him over there illegally. He didn't ask to be over there. And I said, plus, more importantly, I don't pay people for abusing, neglecting, and exploiting my son. I said, that's not even logical to me. I said, I'm not going to pay them half of a copper's penny. I said, now you go back and tell Mike DeWine that. And then it all turned out to be wrong because they were charging, like, sending me a bill for $493. And then I got all the documents, all the papers, got all the evidence. And then you can see they were too greedy and too incompetent because they start taking the $493 off and putting $30 on there. $493 off. But after, and I told the woman, I said, I'm going to refer you to Facebook, let you know I ain't full of hot air and see what I'm talking about. And after that, I never got a letter back from them. And then I put a poster out there, some of the pictures, not all of it. Marquis's abuse and stuff. Wounds, flesh out of his knee, and chapped lips, and dirty, torn clothes that wasn't his. They stole the ones I brought up there. That was all the brand new clothes I brought up there, and all I brought him was brand new clothes. And you can see it on the Facebook page and stuff. And I guess they probably told Mike DeWine that this woman got all kind of evidence against you people. And she told us she wasn't going to pay y'all half a copper penny. And I meant it. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play this. Like I said, it was March the 4th, 2012 at Columbus Developmental Center. Marquis in pain from his toes being hurt, probably being injured during a restraint or from the staff or somebody stepping on him or kicking him or whatever. And then him wailing and sobbing loudly and yelling that they had restrained him, hit him in the head. And then me telling the police, because the police is on here too, because I'm just playing snippets of it. Me telling, I forgot who the lady was. I said, get the police over here because I've seen a scratch on his face, which is an injury. And then Lois telling me, you were good. It was good that you got Robert off this unit. Because Robert was an abuser. He beat and hit and all that kind of stuff. So, So here's to you, John Kasich, Mike DeWine, Mike D. Michael Snow, that racist trash ex-superintendent, because he put a note out that he was resigning, but he was going to another job and stuff. Rob Capardi, Heidi Hughes, all the thugs and savages that would attack and abuse disabled people. And, you know, because ain't no telling what God has done with them and stuff. So, but I just, you could tell that I'm still pissed off and angry about it because I'm reliving a painful thing. But God has made sure I realize that He is the avenger. Vengeance is mine; I will repay. And sometimes He lets you see it, just like He let me know by getting the paper that David Belinky had died unexpectedly. So here we go. Um, and like I said, he told me to pray for him. I said, because Jesus thought enough of Aaron Sanford's life. He died for her too on the cross. And she might actually meet me up in there like all the rest of them. But she's going to have to repent and stop doing what she's doing. If not, the Lord is going to really deal with her. So here is the recording. And just know that me and Marquis are in God's hands. And but he's been suffering a long time, and I know the Lord is going to bring him out, bright and got a powerful, wonderful destiny for my son, and a powerful life for him and me as his mother as well. So here you go. So there you have it. At the end, you can hear this woman named Lois that worked there. That it was smart that I got Robert off the area because Robert was an abuser. He would attack and hit residents. At least he did my son, and that's been proven. Um, my son, because like D. Michael Snow with his racy, he was a racist piece of trash. That and these people work in these agencies for years, and they move them around. Even when they do wrong, they move them around into different jobs. And he was trying to say Marquis is trying to get his staff in trouble, which should immediately disqualify him for even being a worker in that field or in that agency, let alone a superintendent. Because I said, autistic people and MR people, they don't just sit up and try to, get people in trouble. They don't really have the cognitive ability that, somebody that wanted to get back at somebody or get revenge or whatever, the cognitive ability to sit up and go like, well, I'm going to plan this and I'm going to say this about them and I'm going to say, my son, it's not like that. He's not, but that's what he had written in one of the letters when I was pointing out, injuries and telling them what Marquis was saying. But they do their little own investigation. They're not going to say, yeah, they abuse him and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of it's retaliation. The more that I would, talk about these things and bring them up, they resented that, especially from a black mother. But that's what he said, that Marquis was trying to get his staff in trouble. But you wouldn't believe the corruption is sky high, but you just wouldn't believe the incompetence. And I said, these people are unfit to even be working around disabled people. And it's still that way now. Because when I go by where they have him at, it's always new staff. And I said, but the things they have said to him, how they respond to his behavior. I said, you don't respond to his behaviors by beating on him and hitting him. And if you're going to use a technique, use it properly. I said, I shouldn't have to come in there and my son screaming and yelling because he said he even peed. He said, and then they would punish him. That's what they got the school in trouble with, the U.S. Department of Education. Because Marquis said that they restrained him. You heard it on the tape because he wanted to come to the phone, and that they restrained him and hit him in the head, and he even peed. So he was just being traumatized and terrorized morning, noon, and night, and everything. And I said, I'm gonna put it out here. And I said, any of that trash. John Martin is the director of Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, and that Peggy Martin. I said, bring your lawyers. I said, because ain't none of you people gonna say y'all trash, y'all filth, and ain't nothing you gonna say to me about it. I said, because I got the goods. And I said, they're going to stay on Facebook, and probably, if not at least Facebook, they're going to be on YouTube for the whole world to hear. So there you have it. And like I said, you could just imagine my heart splitting in two. And I walk in there and I could tell he was all upset. And I said, it's going to be all right because I bought him some food because he liked some sweet and sour chicken. So I bought him some food. Almost every day I brought him food because they wouldn't feed him. And they wouldn't feed him. Like that white lady was laughing. You heard her laughing. And he said, oh, I'm hungry now and stuff. But, it was just awful. I said, shoot, they can't even meet his basic needs. Take his clothes. I said, it wasn't because Marquis didn't have clothes. I bought all kind of brand new sets of clothes. Staff was stealing. I said, that's just corrupt filth. And I'll take the director on, the attorney general on, and all this kind of stuff. And I said, I'm just waiting for the Lord to bust this thing out so the whole world can hear it. I said, but at least the evidence is out here. Because the Lord said, well, I'm in control of that too. As far as when I bust this thing out and put it front and center for the whole world to know. But Marquis has just been living pure hell because of government racist trash. And then you got, like these thugs that are savages, that like Rothschild, he was black. Usman was a native African savage, and so was Dwight. I never seen, but Robert was black, another thug. I said, anytime you mistreat helpless people, God will get you for that kind of stuff. So ain't no telling where they're at. But there you have it. And because they almost made, well, he did say he peed on himself. When they attacked him and restrained him and hitting him all in the head, they throw him down. Oh, it's just awful. It's just awful. So I don't have no respect for that trash. I said Heidi Hughes, Mike Snow, Rob Capaldi. Oh, he was awful. He was the idiot that told me that that Marquis, that tape I have of Marquis being a punch in the chest by Rochem didn't mean nothing. I said, well, you would say that. You've been in this field for how long? Denying and not acknowledging abuse of these residents in this facility. I said, that's the way. I said, but you about the only one that would say it didn't occur. I said, because I got it on. You can hear the thug on there. You can hear me on there. You can hear Marquis on there. I said, he ain't going to admit that he punched him in the chest because he's a savage. But he did admit that he uh, grabbed him by the shirt, which is unwanted. And that's assault in itself. I said, but you would not. That's why they keep you around. You've been denying this stuff for years. And I looked at him like the filth that he was. But anyway, um, there you have it. More to come. Pretty soon we'll be getting on the into the audio tapes or recordings that actually um, were on the phone. But right now that sounded pretty good because it's on a regular cassette tape. But we're just in 2012 yet, because that tape is coming up December 1st, 2012, and I made a separate audio video from it, but that tape has when Marquis was punched in the chest. And I mean, the things that I've seen as a mother, I said, so you better believe I'm pissed about it. I said, but I'm not worried about no body coming up saying nothing to me or whatever. I got too much evidence. Too much. And different types of evidence. So we're in 2012 now. And like I said, I got tapes 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. A lot of this stuff I've forgotten. It's been so much. So when I listen to it, and I have to relive it, but then it's like, oh, yeah, and everything. So anyway, there you have it. Look for my 3 pages. If you go to the pages, always start at the beginning of the page when I first created them. Then I got a YouTube channel that's just, they go to YouTube first, and then they also go on Facebook. So there you have it, and thank you for listening, and Jesus is Lord. And I love you, Marquis. Hang on in there, baby.